You may wonder why we are out in the middle of nowhere in some dark, desolate, overgrown wilderness. And it's because we're on some deep archaeological excavation type shit where I am staring at one piece of the curved, faceted granite banister that wrapped around the back of one of the curved benches in Philadelphia City Hall. Because this undisclosed location is where all of the pieces from Love Park and City Hall were moved once those spots were demolished. So deep in this thicket, you can see on this giant slab of stone where you have the marks of a skate stopper, which means that this is one of those City Hall benches that went along that corridor as you headed towards the stairs. And this convex ledge right here was the bottom outer ring of the fountain, where Wenning does the switch backside 180 to fakie 5-0 pop out, and nollie backside nose grind pop out. And these concave sections here were the ledges that faced the fountain as it stepped up towards the upper part of Love Park. This is the small rail at Muni. And these three giant slabs of stone here were the main ledge at Love Park. And all the rest of these piles of thinly sliced pink and gray granite are the paving stones for 20% of Love Park's flat ground. So for people coming from out of town or who've never been to Philadelphia, it's pretty mind-blowing to consider that three of the best plazas in the world were basically at the intersection of 15th and JFK. Where we are now was Love Park. Catty corner to us was City Hall Plaza, Dilworth. And across 15th Street is Muni, or Rayburn Plaza. And of course, this is Robert Indiana's famous Love sculpture, which after it was installed in 1976, was what this plaza, originally called West Plaza, was named after. And all three of these plazas were a large-scale urban redevelopment project overseen by Edmund Bacon and designed by Vincent Kling. Love Park was built in 1965, Muni was 1964, City Hall Plaza is right around the same time. These projects were designed to showcase and clear the space around Philadelphia's historic City Hall. They were designed to be at the terminus of Franklin Parkway, which stretches in this long Champs-Élysées-like boulevard from the Philadelphia Museum of Art all the way to City Hall. What makes Philadelphia so unique is that a lot of American cities were gutted by freeways in the mid-20th century, and this one emphasized mass transit. So underneath City Hall Park in Muni, you have these subterranean tunnels where Ricky and Freddie and all those dudes skate in the late 90s in the Eastern Exposure videos. Those subterranean tunnels connected to subway lines, to the SEPTA, to the Pennsylvania Railroad. In other words, unlike a lot of American cities, which were all about like parking garages and the automobile and the freeway, this was really about emphasizing access to mass transit. Which is why you have these sunken plazas and gardens and interior shopping arcades underneath the street surface. So for example, that insane nose slide that Eric Costin does down that curved rail goes down to one of those sunken plazas. This entire plaza was so ruthlessly redesigned in 2017 that it's almost completely unrecognizable. But this sad patch of muddy grass that I'm standing on right now was the runway towards the outledge on my right and that gap to rail that Freddie did on my left. And these vents are the last remaining vestige of the original layout of the plaza that we can see right here. And if it weren't for the recognizable from skate videos facade of 2 Penn Center, City Hall, and the Municipal Services Building, we wouldn't even be able to tell that we were once in one of the best skate spots in the world. So while Vincent Kling's 1965 design somehow reconciled the conflicting objectives of Beaux-Arts city planning from 1917 with the 19th century city hall and international style modernist space and forms, making this perfectly skatable, welcoming, open but unified plaza. We are now left with this hopelessly barren, over-programmed but serving nobody, empty space of fold-out chairs and completely unskatable surfaces and shapes. Probably the first footage that most people saw was Roger Brown skating this in like the late 80s or early 90s. And then it was the Philadelphia Metrospective in 411. And little by little, Love Park started to become this East Coast and eventually national mecca. Freddie, Ricky, Serge, and Matt Reason skating here in Eastern Exposure 2 and Eastern Exposure 3, the Sub-Zero video, 1994, which is also the first time you see the municipal building being skated. You had the rim of the fountain. You had the 3 tiered ledges that also constituted the Love Gap. Then you had the upper part of the plaza where you had rows of high granite ledges in this L-shaped configuration. You had out ledges on each end of the plaza. You had a big set of stairs with a crack in front of it leading down to the bottom of the fountain on one side. And then at the very top, you either had a low to high ledge with the lip that Ricky did a backside tailslide on, or you had a over hip high ledge that Stevie Williams amazingly did a switch frontside noseslide on. And as if the pre-existing plaza itself wasn't good enough, those tiles could also be propped up so that you could have like a bump over a can. I think Ricky probably had the first footage propping up those granite tiles for tricks over cans. And that's also in 1999 where Josh Kalis did that amazing 360 flip over a can. And at the moment when, after Embarcadero, skateboarding as a whole is starting to reconsider inner city skateboarding, Philadelphia's Love Park all of a sudden put East Coast skateboarding on the map. This wasn't like the Banks, this wasn't an old school 70s and 80s spot. This was a modern, updated, high ledge plaza with almost everything you would want to skate.
It was the first time that skateboarding ever wasn't focused on California, primarily. You don't see the word Philadelphia that often until the 90s. You guys got to come to Philadelphia. This is an amazing city for skateboarding.
In the late 80s and early 90s, it was about skating the entire city. Like if you talk to like Tommy or Mike Archimedes about San Francisco, they wouldn't go to Embarcadero. They're skating hills.
We did skate everywhere, and because we were always wanting to find new stuff, but we never excluded. Like Love Park was our home. I don't know the right word for it, but it was wonderful. Like I'm part of the city. Like I'm in the city. You know what I mean? The levels was what where everyone skated. The upper level was skated prior. Matt and the Pittsburgh dudes are the ones who started skating the top level on the more regular real basis. I mean, obviously Roger has like an old board slide photo that's one of the first ones ever. Right. But back then we had to learn. Everyone was learning, and it's a lot easier to learn something this high than this high. Right. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes who came from here, a lot of their first 10, 15 photos, most of the footage is literally all of them in SF or in LA, and I was like, man, you know what I mean? Yeah. We didn't want to do that. Why would I have to leave somewhere where I know is incredible? Yeah. And it turned out to be that Philadelphia is incredible, and what we did is what we did, and then you had Stevie and those dudes doing what they did right at Succession. Then it got so good that we got like all these dudes, like Wenning and like just dudes like Papa, all these amazing dudes wanting to come here instead of New York. I mean, in a way, I know it sounds kind of weird, but it was like a win for Philadelphia.
And as lawless as Philadelphia truly was in the 1990s, skating at Love Park was always illegal, and skaters constantly had to look over their shoulders for park police and bike cops, lest they would get their boards stolen during a bum rush. But the city finally cracked down and added planters in front of a lot of ledges, taking a lot of the granite paving tiles out of the plaza and putting stupid wooden benches in front of those planters and ledges. In 2008, when the Phillies won the World Series, those wooden benches ended up in the fountain. And while there were dumpster fires literally in the street, the skateboarders started to take the plaza over. And for the last 8 years of the park's life, it had a real resurgence. The next generation of Philadelphia skaters really started to embrace this plaza, not just because of what it offered, but also what it represented to the history of skateboarding on the East Coast. That's when you start to see this new generation of videos popping up, all featuring Love Park. And that blueprint of classic plaza skating, which was written in the mid-1990s and reached its first kind of great form with Josh and Stevie at the end of the millennium, is then picked up again for the last 8 years of the plaza's history, between 2008 and 2016, when the plaza is finally demolished on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2016. Dilworth Plaza, the plaza in front of City Hall, was demolished in 2012. And it's right around that time that skateboarders started to session Muni and film there on the regular. This is Vincent Kling's 1964 Municipal Services building, designed in a kind of late modernist style that is very similar to other buildings with great skate spots in front of them. Beneficial Life Insurance Company, or Jaquan, very similar design as this one, where the building is set back within this raised platform-like plaza. And again, the point with this entire complex was they didn't want to compete with City Hall. So City Hall's tower is 548 feet tall. And during the 1960s, Edmund Bacon had what they called a gentleman's agreement that no building surrounding City Hall would be higher than this tower, which is why this area is surrounded by these squat little skyscrapers that don't surpass the height of City Hall. It's also one of the reasons why you have these wide open plazas. And the original design of all three plazas combined white granite with pink granite interlocking squares and rectangles, so it looked like this sort of like chain link. And those colors actually look all the way back to the colonial beginnings of Philadelphia, with these Georgian or federal style buildings with delicate white Georgian neoclassical accents on the facade. And the earliest footage probably filmed here was Fred Gall's opening line in the Sub-Zero video, where he ollies up one of the benches and heel flips over the can. In the same video, Serge Trednowski ollies one of the stone banisters at the base of the building. You have Jack switch backside nose grind 180 across the whole bench in like 2003. And this kind of stands as a testament to how incredible Philadelphia's plazas were. Muni, which would be the shining star in any other city's crown of skate spots, offered the least for Philadelphia skaters. It only had benches, a handrail, and flat ground. City Hall and Love Park had way more. But when City Hall got eliminated, all of a sudden Muni became much more appealing to local skaters. And over the last decade, Brian Panebianco managed to capture the last moments of both Love Park and of Muni, filming his friends building spots literally out of the wreckage of these once great plazas that the city so carelessly demolished. All of the moments and all of the best videos all came from projects that you were involved with. What was it about these two plazas over the last 15 years that made this the kind of center of your skate world?
Just like growing up, watching like the Alien video and seeing Love Park and City Hall and not really knowing right away that they were in the city I grew up next to, and finding out they were in the city, and then finding out that City Hall was different than Love Park because we used to think they were the same. Once just knowing that stuff is like at your front door, I just wanted to get down here and like be a part of it.
Can you talk a little bit about the era when people really started localizing Muni?
You couldn't skate up here, like the security was crazy. But we started trying anyway and kind of like not leaving. But what really set it off was a security guard here took a kid's board and ran inside with it, and the kid like snapped and was banging on the glass trying to fight the security guard, and the security guard actually got in trouble by his boss, and he was like, yeah, like I'm never kicking people out again. I'm not losing my job over this shit. Yeah, like by the time we started skating here, they had already put these cuts in the benches. We fixed like one bench. We were like, holy shit, this place is amazing now. Then we just started going crazy and like fixing the whole place.
Like, this is incredible. Like for the past couple of years, how these guys been skating it like this, that was the one place we could not skate. Literally 5 minutes or 2 tries.
And you were there to capture those last few days of love. You know, even with your cousin like skating the foundation and skating the top of the garage once the grant's been pulled away. Why it was so important to capture that moment?
Well, first of all, like filming at Love and filming at Muni, it's hard because so much stuff has been done. It's kind of like you're repeating things.
Yeah.
But then they start tearing apart the plaza. Yeah, it's sad, but it's like never been easier to film at. So like at Love, they tore up all the levels, but then left them all like crooked, and it was like this obstacle course. They did it to try to like stop us from jumping in the fence because they like caught on. And then Muni was like, they would dig up all the tiles and then stack them up, and then we would just use their pallet jack to like relocate them and move them around and butt them up against each other and make ledges. We like did our best with what we had, you know, at the time. I feel like plaza skating has changed because back in the day, plaza skating was, you had this amazing plaza. You couldn't skate it. It was held down by cops or security guards. You would learn all about the plaza, what times to go there, like how it works, when they get off their shift, what time of the night you can skate there. Now it's like plaza skating is like, you have the spot. You could just come anytime, meet your friends. You don't even have to call them, which is awesome. And I'm glad it like became like that. But originally it was like 3 of your friends hoping to get 5 minutes at an amazing spot without getting kicked out. Yeah, we were just trying to just keep it going, like keep the legacy going, like not outdo it, but just keep it going and have it look the same and have it have the same feel. And maybe the younger generation can like kind of see that and then want to do the same thing, and it could keep going. And then the older guys that lived the original one can be like fans of it and be like, wow, that's sick that those guys are like still doing it like that.
Well, the fences went up May of 23, and at that point we had no idea what was going on. There was no public knowledge of what was happening with the plaza. We just knew it was time. The fences were up and it was going to be torn down. So within a week or so, I was able to find the project manager on site. I basically told her like I was interested in salvaging some of the materials as quickly as possible. Like, how can we get in the mix with this conversation and help save some of these materials and hopefully reuse them in a skate spot or park. I was able to schedule them to get picked up that following week, and the guys showed up in a flatbed truck and they got them out in like an hour, and we'd saved the ledges. And we had a meeting at City Hall and presented this concept of like incorporating skating into the space. Basically, the city kind of agreed on a lot of our points. They validated them with people in the building and ultimately allowed us to be a part of the redesign process. They gave us this area. It's basically 20% of the overall plaza. It's a fairly small space, but more than we ever could have expected or dreamed of. Originally, the city within their budget didn't have the money to do granite ground. They told us that pretty much straight off the bat. For this type of space and the environment we wanted, the ground's got to be granite, right? So we kind of proposed option B, which was allow us to come up with funding, and Vans jumped on to help out with that. So once we had that, we really felt like the ground should be white granite, because Love, Muni, City Hall all had this white granite ground. And we've also got a City Hall bench here as well, original City Hall bench. We've got a mix of all three plazas, and then the ground ties everything together. So the notches were cut in the early 2000s after the ban in Philly for skating downtown happened. I realized sometime around probably the last time you skated them, the undersides of the benches were perfect. So when we got these off site, we realized we could actually flip these over. So now you have brand new granite slabs and you can skate both sides, back like it was mid-90s. Just now you can actually skate them every day and not get kicked out.
When I talked to Brian a little bit ago, it seems that that's what's so cool about the vibe is still the same. I do feel this has a little or a lot to do that they realized the mistake that they did with Love and tried to just give us this thing over there that now is just there.
Our culture thrives on unforgettable moments. It's not just the trick, the clip, or the person who did it. It's the combination of all three that somehow becomes bigger than the sum of their parts. And over the past 3 decades, the tricks done here by these skaters have created some of the most iconic moments in all of skateboarding. And a lot of these moments came at these larger, high-pressure inflection points. Like in the mid-90s, when Philadelphia skateboarding pulled the spotlight away from sunny Southern California schoolyards, and all of a sudden, skateboarding's magnetic core shifted to the East Coast inner city. From Jimmy Garecki's backside lip slide to Jameer Brown's switch frontside nose slide on that rail, to the numerous covers that were shot at this plaza. I mean, what other skate spot has produced so many iconic images and clips? And it's also about the filmers, from Dan Wolf to Bill Strobeck, Josh Stewart to Chris Mulhern and Brian Panebianco. It's about building your entire skate universe out of your immediate friend group and community. Places come and go, classic eras get embalmed on film, and the history of skateboarding remains this: we make gold out of the shit that society leaves behind. And it's for that reason that Philly's skate scene has always burned a little bit brighter.
Fuck yeah, man!
So this is Your Move, a 1996 public art installation by the artists Daniel Martinez, Renee Petropoulos, and Roger White. And that would mean that this yellow piece is the one that John Shanahan shot his cover Ollie over. I'm not going to tell you where this is, and trust me, you wouldn't want to come here. It stinks here. I really hope that the city finds some way to bring these things back, because not only are they great works of art, but they're still skatable.